If anyone's watching right now. Doesn't look like anyone is. But yeah, right now we're basically just killing time until the thing starts and until everyone's here. There's Aaron. Hi. Yeah, we're already live now, just to let you know. Although it doesn't appear that anyone's actually watching us, which, as I said last week, makes it a little harder to get up the energy. Although, of course, this will also all be viewable online later, and usually gets a couple hundred views. So. Okay, now we're up to 3 viewers. Anyone wants to, again, like I said, to the players, make sure you're set to private chat, and I can show comments. So we do have a hello.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah. So anything that's put in the chat, if I want to spotlight it, I can put it on screen. Otherwise, the players are set to private chat so they can't see it. So if you want to discuss the questions or answers, you can rest easy that you won't be spoiling anything for the participants. And yeah, anyone else who wants to say hi or introduce themselves can do so. All right, it's noon, and yeah, even though it's it's fine if people are a few minutes late, we might as well get started. I think this time I'm trying something new since we had the I like consistency, and since everything else is in threes, we only had 2. Is there birds in someone's background chirping?
Oh yeah, when the clock strikes the hour, my son's bird clock chirps.
Oh.
So you'll hear it again at 4 Eastern.
I thought it was me because we have woodpeckers near our house.
All right. So yeah, like
we
I said,
also usually have a giant U.S. map on the wall, or world map on the wall behind me, but I took it down for the game.
Fair enough. Yeah, good, nice precaution. But yeah, the so this time I think I'd like to do a third estimator just to determine the order in which you introduce yourself. So even lower stakes than the others, which are all fairly low stakes as well. But yeah, so let's just you all should have your some kind of writing surface and writing implement. So let's make the first one. So within the canon of Sherlock Holmes story, there's basically, there's 10 million different stories and books and things with Sherlock Holmes as a character, TV shows, movies, but there's an original canon of short stories and novels by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle that's fairly well defined. So adding together the number of short stories in the canon and the number of novels or novellas, what is the total number of Sherlock Holmes adventures in that original canon? I'll give you 10 seconds to write it down. And yeah, anyone in the chat who wants to venture a guess can do so. All right, you all ready? Okay, so if you could just hold up your paper, and 64, 40. Okay, so 47 for Manas. Okay, we had an additional guess of 72, by the way, but 43 for Aaron, 47 for Manas, and 64 for Jenna. It'd be embarrassing if I do the mental math wrong now, but there were 56 short stories and 4 novellas. So I believe that puts Jenna closest, followed by Manas and then Aaron. So right now we can just have that be the order of introduction. So we can basically just, your name, where you're broadcasting from, and one sentence about yourself.
All right. So I'm going first?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jenna LaFleur. I'm from Washington, D.C. And, I'm a not currently full-time employed or anything, but I'm a volunteer tester for stuff on Learned League. I score one-day specials and stuff. So if you've played any one days, I've probably scored your submissions.
That's important work, and yeah, I think my one day on questions with multiple answers, I was told, was particularly challenging to grade.
That was one of our first days on the job, and it was it was kind of a trial by fire. Yeah.
All right, and you're getting a woo,
Oh, hey,
Jenna.
Eric.
All right, thank you for commenting. And I think Manas was next.
Mm-hmm. Hi, everyone. I'm Manas Sarma. I'm based in Massachusetts. I was a math major, but I also have an accounting certificate, and I work as a cost accountant or carrier. And when I'm not working, I'm heavily involved in Quiz Bowl, and Yogesh and I played in a pop culture tournament back in August. And I'm also in the Quiz Bowl League and the online quiz league of USA.
Cool. All right, and Aaron.
My name's Aaron Lichtig, a proud resident of Silver Spring, Maryland, originally from central Pennsylvania. Day job is I'm VP of marketing at Xometry. I joined, it was a startup here. We went public on June 30th of this year. So I am a educationally an MBA and kind of work on the business side of things. I've been involved in quizzing for a very long time. I played Quiz Bowl for State College area high school back in the 90s. That's when I got started and have kept up with a bunch of different things over the years and got back into it kind of while I was studying to be on Jeopardy back in 2019.
Nice, yeah. I remember State College High School from, I think I was part of a all-state all-star team that played against them once. But yeah, and I'm close to finishing my MBA with a certificate in marketing. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All right, and okay, so that's everyone, and so now we can share this screen. And okay. All right, and so, okay, let me adjust the window to get it as large as possible within these constraints. I think that's about right. So yeah, so this is our third streaming episode. Basically the same format as the last one. Maybe tweak a few things. There'll be one more with this format on the 31st with Dargan Ware, Victoria Gross, and Jimmy Lee. After that, I may come back with a different kind of format, but I'll continue doing some kind of streaming. Okay, so rules. I went over these with the participants, but I'll go over them for the sake of the audience. Basically, yeah, so the scoring, as in previous ones, will be not really numerical or arbitrary. It's more like Whose Line, where I give points based on how much I like the answers. I like correct answers better than non-correct ones, so definitely shoot for correct ones, but it'll be more whimsical. This isn't really a unlike my podcast, this isn't the participants competing against each other. It's more like everyone against the questions. There'll be 9 categories, some straightforwardly named, some a bit more cryptic, 2 related questions in each. Each slide will have the text of the question and also a picture, which will sometimes be a hint, sometimes just an illustration. Some of the pictures will have red borders. That means you can see them in larger size. So round 1, we'll do another one of these estimators, and each player can select based on that, each player will sequentially select a category to answer by themselves, and then we were briefly up to double-digit viewers and then dropped again. But yeah, and then if they think they get wrong, we'll get passed sequentially down the line. Then we'll do another estimator, and then in that order, people will select a category for the other two to answer together, and then it'll be passed to them if they get it wrong. And then whatever 3 categories remain on the board, the 3 of participants will all work together on. So yeah, and then just a reminder, talk through your process, share it with the audience. Anything interesting that comes to mind. You don't need to deliberately stretch or ramble for the sake of rambling, but just share anything you think is good content. And also on the slides, any text that's small is basically an indication that it's more kind of flavor texty than helpful clue. But anything that's up there that you think is potentially useful to you, feel free to use. Thanks to our playtesters, Robert Crawley, Mick Larson, Jason Luna, Balaji Srinivasan, all provided very helpful feedback that helped me refine where we're at. Thanks to StreamYard allowing us to stream right now. Thank you to Patreon supporters, Adam Hahn, Christine Welchel, Isaac Rennert, Andrew Darby, Cody Wilson, Ben Rothenberg, Patrick Friel, Jeremy Horwitz, Dargan Ware. Anyone who wishes to can, of course, join. Thank you to everyone watching, but especially those on the live stream right now, but also anyone catching up with it on the archive. And just a few links. I'll try and put this up again at the end of the stream, but some other parts of my fact-based empire, my blog, the super hard quizzes updated about once a month, podcast episodes. There's 21 published now, another 10 or so that are in the pipeline. And if you want to compensate me for my work for any and all of these things, you see the options there: PayPal, Venmo, Patreon. Obviously, none of that mandatory, but all very much appreciated. And now I believe we can do a second estimator to determine who gets to pick the categories first. Let's do that before I show the categories. Why not? All right. So this one is fairly straightforward. In what year did the New York Yankees win their first World Series? Again, you'll have about 10 seconds. Anyone who wants to guess along in the chat is welcome to. All right, so you have 1905 from Manas, 1907 from Jenna, 1923 from Aaron. I suspect Aaron was going off of knowledge there because 1923 is exactly the correct answer.
I did not know it exactly, but I knew it was much later than most people would have thought. So I'm a bit lucky there, but not entirely.
Yeah, so we had a guess from the chat, 1922, very, very close, although not quite as close as Aaron. And the first World Series officially was 1903. So yeah, it took them a couple decades.
I think the Red Sox or the Braves won that year.
Yeah, so as a Braves fan, I can tell you the exact years of their win. The Braves have only won 3 World Series. 1914, the Miracle Braves, where they came back from last place over the course of the season. And then, 1957 and 95, I believe.
95.
Yeah.
They lost 96.
Yeah. And yes, so... okay, so Aaron first, and then I believe it was it Jenna was second closest?
I had 1907.
Okay, yeah, so very close between you two. But welcome to anyone joining us. Looks like we've had a few more people on the stream now. But yeah, we're just getting into the main game, and we've set the order now. So now I'll go through the categories. So they are striking fashion choices. Bernadette, You're the Soul of Me, another song lyric turned into category name. Spice Must Flow, little synergy with a movie coming out in theaters soon. Or So the Germans Would Have Us Believe. Where's Wallace At? It could have made that a reference to the Where's Waldo or Where's Wally franchise, but I chose to go with The Wire instead. Tells you a little bit about my taste. The Queen's Gambit, 3-digit numbers, second acts in American lives, and before they penned thrillers. That's, again, pretty straightforward about the lives of people now known as authors of best-selling thriller novels, but what they did before they were known for that. So, Aaron, this right now we're playing solo, so you can pick one to handle by yourself.
I will take second acts in American Lives, please.
All right. So here's the question. This will start directed at Aaron alone. In the 1960s, Les Crane hosted the first late-night network talk show to compete with Johnny Carson. By the 1980s, bizarrely, he headed the software company that developed the Chessmaster 2000 and Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing, and all of their successive games in those franchises. In between, he notched a surprise 1971 top 10 Billboard hit with his spoken word rendition of What 1927 prose poem. The popularity of his recording led to a National Lampoon parody that advises us to go placidly amid the noise and waste, and remember what comfort there may be in owning a piece thereof.
Go. So let's look at the image here. That's just the Chessmaster. I'm not sure if that is a clue or not. So we're looking for a prose poem.
It's really an illustration of me while I was writing the questions.
Ah, okay. With slightly longer hair and a beard. Let's see. So we're looking for 1927 prose poem. Go placidly among the noise and waste. Remember what comfort there may be in owning a piece thereof. Try like 1927 prose poem. I was initially thinking of Ezra Pound, T.S. Eliot, Cummings, that kind of era of writers. It was also, but go placidly among the noise and waste. It feels a little bit like do not go gentle into that good night, kind of riffing off of that if it's in National Lampoon. So I'll go with that.
Do not go gentle into the
yes,
however it is. Yeah, that actually was exactly what was guessed in the playtest. So you and the playtesters were on the same wavelength there, but it's not correct. So pass to Jenna.
Let's see. I mean, poetry is not my strongest suit, but my first thought was like maybe it was like something with like T.S. Eliot. My first thought was like the wasteland, but given waste is in the question, I feel like that might be something like indicating otherwise. I don't know. I guess in the absence of anything better to guess, I don't really have any clue. I'll guess the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock.
All right, yeah. Playtesters also considered T.S. Eliot and the Wasteland. So again, thinking in parallel with them. And this category, I think, based on playtest, this might be the most difficult category on the board. I think they'll be a bit. Things will be a bit more manageable after this. But that's not correct. So Manas.
Well, I actually thought it was "Do not go gentle in that good night," like Aaron said, because of the lines that you gave us. But since it's not, is it the Hollow Man?
Yeah, so Do not go gentle good night, I think, is a villanelle, so it's a poetry form and rhyme, so not really a prose poem. But yes, this was, I think, again, maybe you have to go back a generation before us, because the original poem, like I said, was written in the 1920s and kind of became a sentimental favorite for a generation after that. And then it was still known by the 70s when the National Lampoon published Deteriorata, which was their parody of it. But it was written by a man named Max Ehrman. It was called Desiderata.
Desiderata. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would not. I was not going in that direction.
Okay, but it sounds like you've heard of it at least. All right, so Aaron, again, have first crack at this question. What South African billionaire who used the profits from his cancer drug Abraxane to form the conglomerate Nantworks in 2018 purchased the Los Angeles Times and the San Diego Union Tribune?
South Africa-born billionaires who are in the U.S. So, and cancer drug. Oh, man. There are a couple of different directions I could go with this. I'm trying to think of South African-born billionaires who are, current billionaires. Thinking of those. There are those guys of Indian descent who are always in the news. I want to say they're the Patel brothers, but I'm not 100% sure. Then there's also like I'm thinking about all the early South African medical pioneers like De Vries and those folks, and I like linking it, trying to play off of the cancer drug. Unless there's some kind of like weird riddle here, like Rupert Murdoch was actually born in South Africa or something like that. But he doesn't own anything called Nantworks, as far as I know. Unless there's some kind of play off of Nantworks, like that's actually his name, her name, probably his name, given the time period. I'll go with. I'm trying to look at the pictures. I don't recognize the two people depicted there either. I'm not sure if that is a clue.
Yeah, it's this straightforward. It's the man in question and his wife.
Oh, that is in fact him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'd be less likely to guess De Vries as his last name if that is him. I will go with Chen.
Okay. I think actually his wife uses the surname Chan, so we're close on that. But he and his wife don't use the same surname. So, and this is, I think the other these two I think are lean a little bit toward the kind of hard, you either know it or you don't. I think the other questions are much more sort of reward processing and thinking and taking educated guesses. So maybe it's kind of unlucky we started with these. But and also, you're all on the East Coast, so this isn't quite as big a story, I guess, where you are. But I'll pass to Jenna.
Well, the only South Africa-born billionaire that I could think of would be Elon Musk, but that is clearly not him in the picture. So I mean, like Aaron was saying, I'm thinking like, is Nantworks like, is that some sort of hint to like his name or something, like, is his name Nant? I'm looking at what's in the background of the picture. It looks like it says KSET or KCET infinitely more. I think that might be like a radio station of some sort. I mean, yeah. I mean, if this is something that either you know it or you don't, I'll just guess Nant.
All right. Yeah, I see your logic there. Good guess. Not correct. Manas?
Like you said, we're not likely to get much exposure about West Coast-based billionaires. Unless NANT, N-A-N-T, is his initials, or at least part of his initials, because IKEA is the abbreviation of the founder's initials and his hometown's initials, I believe. I read that somewhere. I'll guess. Well, and you said he and his wife use different surnames, so maybe Neil Tang.
All right. Yeah. So this is, again, these questions lean toward the hard side, but I was a bit surprised when I learned that both of those newspapers, especially the LA Times, which is a fairly big one, were owned by a South African-born billionaire of Hakka Chinese descent, but his name is Patrick Soon-Shiong.
Oh.
All right. So Jenna, next choice of category.
Let's try 3-digit numbers.
All right. Jenna, what 3-digit number used by Abraham Woodhull in a letter to George Washington describing the actions of the Culper Ring is thought to designate an unidentified female patriot spy during the American Revolutionary War? In homage to that mystery lady, this number also appears in the name of a character in Brian K. Vaughan's Why the Last Man, and in the title of an upcoming women-led action thriller starring Penelope Cruz, Diane Kruger, Jessica Chastain, Lupita Nyong'o, and Fan Bingbing.
Well, okay, let's see. I don't know this outright. Let's see. I know that Why the Last Man is like being, adapted into a TV show, but I haven't been, paying much attention to that. Don't think I've heard about this action thriller either, but given that homage is italicized, I'm guessing that that's a hint of some sort.
It's not. It's just my pretentious thing I do with French words.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Culpa Ring, no idea there. Yeah. I don't know. Let's go with, I don't know, 815.
Yeah, this one at least has a finite universe of things to guess from, so you do have a chance of guessing it if you guess blindly, although not that high a chance. All right, but yeah, you said 815?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incorrect. Manas?
So, like you said, we do have a finite number of possibilities, but since there are 5 of them in that picture, 5 women. Heard this one before. Is it 579?
Good guess. And yeah, we look like we had another jump up in viewership. So welcome to people joining us. Feel free to play along in the chat. All of the players are set to private, so they won't see anything you put there unless I highlight it for them. But yeah, you said 579?
Mm-hmm.
Good guess, but not correct. Aaron?
My first instinct on this, and I'm not really sure where it's coming from, is that it's 777, because there was something related to the Culpa Ring that I think is repeated digits. I'm trying to come up with this. I'm not gonna get it off the movie. I'm unfortunately not familiar with that. So I'm going to go with 777.
All right. Yeah. So my great nightmare was that, like, in between writing this question and the episode, the movie would suddenly just have a huge marketing blitz. And so it would go from just being, something that people who paid attention knew about to just being everywhere. And actually, like yesterday, I opened up YouTube and I saw for the first time a trailer for it as an ad. And I was like, shoot, my timing's not quite right. But it seemed at least that it hadn't quite penetrated to the point where all of you were familiar with it. And the interesting thing about all the publicity, when I went looking for pictures, all the publicity pictures, they had Penelope Cruz, Jessica Chastain, Lupita Nyong'o, and Fan Bingbing, and they all had Marion Cotillard in them as the 5th woman. But according to IMDb, at least, she's not actually in the completed movie, and Diane Kruger is. So I really have no idea why that's the case. But something else my playtester pointed out was that there were kind of unintended subtle hints in plain sight here, putting 3 up at the top and then 5 women, because the number we're looking for here is 355.
What did it mean in the Culpa Ring when Washington was describing the actions of the Culpa Ring?
Oh wait, sorry. What do you mean?
Was it like why did George Washington use that number?
So apparently, I guess it was encoded. Like the whole letter was because the Culpa Ring were spies. There was a recent TV series called, I think, Turn Washington Spies about them. And actually that series posited that 355 was I believe a slave working in the household of some British officer. But really, there's room to speculate, because even though there are a few suspects historians have, no one actually knows who's being referenced. It's even possible that it was more of a generic reference to female undercover spies and to a specific person. So there's multiple theories. But basically, you don't want to refer to embedded spies by their name. That's a pretty bad idea. So they use numbers instead. All right. And yeah, Jenna. Next question. The European Emergency Number Association, or EENA, not sure if they pronounce it ENA or just as pronounced letters, has as its core mission the promotion of what 3-digit number that reaches emergency services anytime and anywhere in the EU. In the US, dialing this number on a phone that uses the GSM standard will connect you to 911.
Okay, so, I know that the emergency number in the UK is 999, but obviously that's not in the EU anymore. So there's only one other like European emergency phone number that I know, and I'm not even sure if it's like still if it still works or if it's been replaced by this, or if they both operate simultaneously. But I think like I read this book as a kid that was like talking about it was like a bunch of facts and stuff about the number pi, and it was talking about like one of the sections was about like memorizing digits of pi, and they gave like a section of random digits from like however many digits in, and it's like you could break it into chunks, and one of the chunks that they gave was 110, and they said that's the emergency number in Germany. And for whatever reason, the fact that 110 is the emergency number in Germany has just always stuck in my head. So I mean, I guess I'll guess 110.
Yeah, good guess. And good for emergency numbers, right? You kind of want them to be dialable. Well, a lot of times going back to rotary phones, right? You needed low numbers to it's just easier to dial low numbers. There are technical reasons as well. You can also kind of block off access to higher numbers, but leave an emergency number available. So there are good reasons to look at low numbers. So that was a very good guess, but not quite on target. So, Manas?
I swear this was on an episode of the IT Crowd where the British government announces that it's changing the emergency number from like something really short to like a string of 15 or 20 digits. And I think Moss says the digits as he's dialing them. So he says at the start 011. So I'll guess that 011.
Yeah, that might be an emergency. I think the main one for emergency services in the UK is 999, but that might be one, or it might be an international calling code. I'm not sure, but it's, again, a good guess, but not the one we're looking for here. Aaron?
I don't know this, but so I've spent most of my time looking at the picture in case there's some kind of clue there. It looks vaguely like Notorious B.I.G. and Sean Combs, like from an early picture. I don't know what I don't know if that's right or exactly what I'm looking at there. But if I had to guess, I'm trying to guess like I do think it needs to be low numbers. I was thinking about like, could it be 187 or like California Penal Code for murder and something like that. If you're taking lyrics out of a rap song, or it could be like an area code that is relevant to the individuals in the picture, which I'm trying to think of, like New York City area codes, because that's where they would have been at the time. I think New York has 202 to New York is 202. Most New York is 202, I think. I'll go with 202.
All right, yeah. So this was the first question we've picked up so far. It's kind of random how we traverse through them. So this happens to be the first one where the picture actually is a cryptic hint rather than just an illustration. So that is, I think you named two of the people in the picture on the right. The Notorious B.I.G. in the middle is, I believe he was going by Puff Daddy at the time. I'm not sure what he's going by now.
It's definitely that. And the woman to the left is... I'm not 100%
Is that
sure.
Faith Evans?
It is Faith Evans, yes. So this is definitely a reference. So, at some point after this, not long probably after this picture was taken, one of those people would be killed and the other two would record a tribute song to them. And so that was what the reference was to, the song. It was called I'll Be Missing You, I believe. And if you look up, it's credited to Puff Daddy and Faith Evans, but it's also featuring a few other artists, including a group that was backing them on it called 112.
Oh,
Yeah, so that was my hint toward.
and also, Aaron, 202 is Washington, D.C.
Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't want to
Oh
say
my
that.
goodness.
Yeah,
I'm sort of blanking
I think
here.
212
Yes.
is New York.
That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking of. 212. I live in DC. I know 202 is DC.
There was a Seinfeld episode about making an overlay code of 212 to 646. They tripled it and added 1 to the middle digit. So Elaine doesn't want to date some guy with the 646 area code because he's in 646.
Oh. My mind was thinking 212, and I must have said 202. Oh, it's not right anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a sort of similar reason that large population centers historically had low digits as well. So a legacy from rotary phones. All right. So I think it's Manas's turn to pick.
And I will choose striking fashion choices.
All right. Short question here. Which 2021 Emmy acting nominee wore this to the ceremony? And this is one of those red border pictures, so you can see in a bit higher detail the outfit this person chose.
So are the Emmys always broadcast on CBS?
I don't know, but presumably this year they were.
I think I should know who she is. Oh wait, if she was nominated for this year, it would have been for a show that was on last year. I think that's well. I mean, no one in sitcoms ever gets nominated for acting Emmys, so it has to be for a serious show. And I know that's not Katja Herbers. I don't know. I'm blanking.
You want to just guess a random surname?
Okay, Jones.
Good guess, but not correct. And goes to Aaron.
Man, looks like something out of The Handmaid's Tale. Why that to the ceremony? I did not watch the Emmys, and I have not a whole lot on this. I'll go with Jessica Chastain.
All right, yeah. There already was a picture of Jessica Chastain on one of the slides, and yeah, she looks a bit different from that. But yeah, all right, decent guess. Jenna?
Yeah, I'm not great with celebrities' faces, but it was funny that Aaron mentioned The Handmaid's Tale because I was thinking like, is that Elizabeth Moss? I can't quite tell, and decent chance that I'm wrong, but I'll guess Elizabeth Moss.
All right. We also have a comment. My first thought was that she looked like Max from Where the Wild.
The hands for sure.
Yeah, so that the claws thing, yeah, the cap, look at what looks like a 1920s era bathing cap was definitely a striking choice. The claws were also kind of striking. Not really sure what the symbolism there was, but I definitely, actually, when I was watching the ceremony, I don't remember which network it was on, but I did watch it, and I definitely thought, is that Elizabeth Moss? Because of the head thing does definitely remind one of The Handmaid's Tale. But I as I watched further, it became apparent it wasn't. But yeah, Handmaid's Tale was nominated for over 20 Emmys this year, but actually had a complete shutout. It's the biggest shutout in Emmy history. So for there, you have to look at a show that was much more successful. Although there are Emmys in comedy series, there's certainly has been a trend toward kind of giving them to more kind of dramedy type shows. But there are some traditional sitcoms that still show up there. But this one was, as Manas kind of intuited, a drama. Do you remember what the most successful drama at this year's Emmy was?
Bridgerton?
Yeah, someone suggested Opposite Look from the character she played. Yeah, Bridgerton was nominated for Best Drama, but the one that ended up taking home, I think, all 4 acting awards in addition to Best Drama Series was The Crown. And this is Emma Corrin, who played Princess Diana or Lady Diana in the most recent season of The Crown. According to Wikipedia, she recently announced as non-binary, but uses both she and they as pronouns. So either of those pronouns is an acceptable way to refer to her, as far as I can tell. All right. And next question for Manas. Described by the New York Times as China's first bona fide supermodel, who is seen here on an April 2020 Vogue cover, having apparently just raided Jay Leno's closet? Obviously, that last part was my attempt at humor, not an actual hint.
So I guess the PC police hasn't come for the New York Times. Is that blue square next to the person part of the cover, or did you put
So in sometimes I will redact parts of these images. In this case, that part of the cover had her name, so I covered it up.
Okay. Not sure how a guy is supposed to know this one.
When have men ever been interested in supermodels?
Never.
Me neither, actually. There's 2 times to follow them. And they all look the same anyway. I'll just guess Chan.
Yeah, I think this was part of a series of like 30 covers that were meant to celebrate diversity. But the thing about diversity in fashion standards is that, when someone is tall, conventionally beautiful, slender, long-legged, etc., is it really diversity just because they're from China? I don't know. All right, Aaron?
The only 2 Chinese supermodels I can name are Deng and Xiao, but I don't think this is either of them. For lack of a better guess, though, and not like an instant recognition, I'll go with Xiao.
All right. Good guess, but not correct. Jenna?
I mean, I'll go. I have no idea on this, so I'll go with the other name that Aaron said. Was it Deng? I'll go with that.
It's a nice tactic of asking one of the others for an answer. But yeah, her name is Liu Wen.
Oh.
All right.
Oh, somebody got it on the comments. Or no, Lu Yan.
Lu Yan.
Not Liu Wen. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not the same person.
I never understood why the Coen brothers cast Oscar Isaac to play her. I'm assuming that's a reference to Llewyn Davies, inside Llewyn Davies. Okay. But yeah, Liu space WEN, Liu. All right. So now we can do another estimator. This will be the last one of this type of questions. So it's kind of it seems to be a tradition so far to have at least one chess question in each episode. So here's your chess question. Between 1984 and 1990, Garry Kasparov and Anatoly Karpov played, I believe, 5 world championship matches, specifically to determine who would be the world champion, not just games against each other. Across the entire series, they played each other 144 times. How many of those games ended in a win for one of the players?
Oh wow. So it's in aggregate.
Yeah, I didn't start timing exactly, so I'll just kind of hand wave the time. Is everyone ready? All right. So you hold up your answers. All right. 30 from Jenna, 110 from Manas, 22. Okay, let me think. Okay, so basically across all 144 games, 21 were won by Kasparov, 19 by Karpov. So 40 is the total. So I think that went what? Jenna, Aaron, Manas? Is the ordering there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so let's rearrange the order slightly. All right, and now, Jenna, you'll pick a category for Aaron and Manas to work on together.
All right, let's go with where's Wallace at?
Oh, and when I get another comment, the frequency of draws in chess makes football look like American football. All right, so where's Wallace at? So for Aaron and Manas now. Long before starring in Annabelle and Malignant, Annabelle Wallis had a lead role in the Hindi interracial romance theme film Dil Jo Bhi Kahe, opposite Karan Sharma, the nepotism-boosted son of its director Romesh Sharma. Although top billing in that film went to Bollywood icon Amitabh Bachchan, the movie was set not in India, but rather among the Indian diaspora, on which island, where about 2/3 of the population claims Indian descent.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll be all that helpful, but you can try looking at the background there.
Is that Dimple Kapadia?
Trying to think. So this is it's an.
Now I actually know I know quite a few islands with lots of Indians, but that doesn't really help us because there are so many.
Well,
I know
I was thinking,
and Mauritius are two of them.
Mauritius was number one on my list because there was. I think it's mainly one island and very high percentage claims Indian descent. It's not that high in Singapore.
Really? Okay.
Not 2/3.
Plus, that's also where a lot of either one of those two places is where a lot of awards shows take place.
In Mauritius. Yeah, I was trying to think of what else it could, like the Maldives, Fiji. Again, like where are there a lot of other
The Maldives is an island group, so that can't be it.
Trinidad.
Ooh.
That Trinidad probably has the highest number in the Caribbean, as far as I know. There are a lot of Indians in Aruba and
a lot of in the Caribbean in general.
But 2/3 is high. Like it's not just the like Fiji, where there are a lot of Indians. As far as I know, I don't think it's 2/3. That seems.
Yeah,
Mauritius could be though, because it's so few people.
Mauritius was the top of my top guess.
You want to go with that then? I'm good with that. That was first for me too.
All right. Is it Mauritius?
All right. Yeah. Just before I respond to that, Aaron, you mentioned seeing something in the comments. Are you set to private chat? Because I was. I wanted to give people.
Supposed to be. I was looking at the comments, but
I wanted to give people the freedom to kind of chat about the questions.
Chat about the game. Oh, okay.
Right.
I'm not reading answers off of there.
Okay, yeah. So,
right.
But if it's on private, you can always.
I'm on private chat now.
Yeah, I think for the next 14 days, then the VOD is on Twitch, the chat will be archived along with it, so you can always read through that if you want to. But yeah, generally I want the people in the chat to have freedom to talk about whatever they want, including the answer to the question, and anything I want you guys to see, I can spotlight it the way I've been doing with some of the comments. But yeah, your answer was Mauritius, and yeah, it took about 45 minutes into the stream, but you did get one right.
Woo! I got the Yankees one right. That counts.
Oh yeah, true. You were right directly on the nose. Yeah, but yeah, no, they're definitely meant to be difficult. There's no shame in struggling with them at all. They are difficult questions, and the first few you selected were kind of on the you either know it or you don't. But this one was able to be puzzled through, and you did puzzle through it correctly. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, and next question again for Erin and Manas. Unlike 3 of her castmates, Annabelle Wallis did not receive a Razzie nod for her performance in The Mummy 2017. However, that movie did get her and her co-star Tom Cruise jointly nominated for an Edda from the Alliance of Women Film Journalists. In which category?
Wow.
David Plotkin again notes that the pattern often seen on the podcast. They said the correct answer immediately, moved away from it for a minute, and circled back to it.
So this is going to be tough because I didn't even know there was a Mummy movie made in 2017.
What kind of what is EEDA?
I don't know. It must be.
That's just what their award is called. I think, according to Wikipedia, I think it was named after the mother of the founder or something like that.
Oh, okay. So that's not really a clue. So, what kind of categories would Alliance for Women Film Journalists?
Oh, and as I noted there, a general description. You don't need the exact word for word name of the category. General description is acceptable.
Maybe like strong female lead.
But it's her and her co-star. Like they were jointly nominated for it.
It wouldn't be. I feel like an Alliance of Women Film Journalists wouldn't have an award for best on-screen couple between a man and a woman.
Maybe. Or worst. Because the maybe the Razzie thing is a clue. Like,
and Tom Cruise looks like 20 years older than her at least.
Least realistic least realistic relationship between a man and a woman.
So do we go with worst on-screen couple?
Worst on-screen couple?
Or best?
I mean, is Alliance Women Film Journalists? Do they give like? Are they doing it to highlight? Are they giving serious awards for good performances, or are they giving awards to make a statement about the depictions of relationships or individuals?
When I first read the question, I thought it was both actually, because I feel like. I mean, it's an alliance of journalists, so maybe they'd be a little more like they'd be a little too pretentious to be like an offshoot of the Razzies, I feel like.
But this has got to be something not positive, right? I mean, this movie was not good, and I can't imagine, with 3 of her castmates receiving Razzie awards that. If this was some serious award, they're not going to give it an award for best picture or something. I like the idea of like least realistic relationship or like worst depiction of a relationship between a man and a woman.
All right, is it? Want to go just go for it then?
Yeah, sure. I don't have anything better.
Is it least realistic relationship?
That's a decent guess. And yeah, I think the Razzies do have a category of worst on-screen couple, which they've sometimes had fun with, putting like George W. Bush and himself or something like that. But I'll pass this to Jenna.
Yeah, so the fact that it was like a joint nomination seems like it should be a hint, Which category? Okay, so I'm thinking like, yeah, I mean, one of my thoughts, before the other two, guessed it was, like worst on-screen relationship or something, but yeah, I'm just trying to think like, I did not see this movie. I seem to remember that there was like when they released the trailer for the movie, like something had gone wrong with the YouTube upload, and it just like didn't have any music or sound effects, and so it was like a scene of like they're getting like sucked out of an airplane or something, and where it should be like this big dramatic swell of sound, you just have like Tom Cruise going ah, and it's otherwise completely silent. But other than that, I don't really know anything about this movie or like anything that happened in it. Oh man, I'm just, I don't know. I'll just I don't know. I mean, Alliance of Women Film Journalists. I don't know. I'll say like depiction of journalists on screen as the category. I don't know if either of their characters was a journalist, but
decent guess. Yeah, I have in the comments, David's, is this a tongue-in-cheek thing where they celebrate a couple with a reasonable age difference? Tom Cruise is much older than her, but at least he's not twice her age, which is more than can be said for many other on-screen pairings. Yeah, I certainly. So basically, to give away the answer, I mean, Manas made the comment that was in the right direction when he mentioned Tom Cruise being much older than Annabelle Wallis. The category is called most egregious age difference between lead and love interest.
Yeah.
As you can see here, she's kind of trapped between an artificial illustration of Tom Cruise and an artificial Tom Cruise. But the yeah, I mean, reading through just the list of things in that category, it isn't even the most egregious age difference, but not even in that year, I don't think, much less in the overall category. It's kind of eye-opening just to read through the sheer number of examples there. But yeah, that was the answer.
In Enderan, Rajnikant and Aishwarya Rai played a couple, and he could be her father.
Yeah. When you look at the publicity and the leading lady is like, oh yeah, when I was growing up, I had a crush on him, or like he was my first celebrity crush. It feels a little off there. But all right, so I think it's Aaron's turn now to choose for Jenna and Manas to work together.
All right, let's do Before They Penned Thrillers.
All right. So, utilizing a pseudonym that feminizes his real name, in other words, a feminine version of his name, who made his literary debut with the humor book 187 Men to Avoid, a survival guide for the romantically frustrated woman, 1995. I'll blow this up for you, but it's basically just says early humor from the author of, and then I've redacted the title, and then it's their name, formally writing as the feminine version of the name.
I think I might actually know this.
Oh, really?
I seem to remember hearing this fact on like a trivia podcast of some sort recently. I don't remember which one it was, but I want to say that this is Dan Brown using the name Danielle Brown.
Ooh. Oh, was he active that long ago?
Huh?
Was he active that long ago?
I mean, I'm assuming that like this is what he was writing, before he pivoted to, the Da Vinci Code and those other books in that series.
I mean, this is probably better than any of those books in that series. So
yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure that it was some fact about Dan Brown writing books of this sort before he wrote thrillers. So yeah, let's go with Dan Brown.
Okay.
All right, that's your answer. Yeah, so 1995. I think Da Vinci Code, I think, was around 2003 because I was living in England at the time. But his first thriller novel, Angels and Demons, was a few years before that. But before that, he'd been, I think, working as a high school teacher. But on the side doing. I think he originally tried to have a music career, and in fact, I think Angels and Demons was one of his releases in music originally before he reused the title, and the art for it was done by a man with the surname Langdon, which he then reused as the surname of his main protagonist. But this book was originally published by Danielle Brown. There's a little, I think now that he's divorced and there's some controversy over whether that was meant to be a pseudonym just for him or a pseudonym for him and his wife writing together, because his wife played a big role in promoting him. I think she kind of worked in PR and really helped market him early on. And now that there's divorce, there's a lot of acrimony there. But yeah, Dan Brown is correct.
Good job.
Well done.
All right.
This is something that I absolutely would not have known if I hadn't heard that podcast.
All right. Well, good job remembering. We all come across so many facts, but we don't always remember them. So that's good as well. All right. So, and again, Jenna and Manas, having a background as a financial journalist who broke into book writing with the women's advice tome, The Money Goddess, The Complete Financial Makeover, 2006. She also authored light romance novels like Confessions of a Reluctant Recession. Could never say. I've played tested these before, and I always mess up that word. Confessions of a Reluctant Recessionista, 2009, under the nom de plume Amy Silver, before finding her true métier. And again, the French words are me being pretentious. They're not hints. This is someone French.
I don't know. I mean, like...
Amy Silver. Could that be an anagram of her name?
Maybe. Maybe like Mia Verlis or something. I don't know. I don't know. Could this be... My first thought was like maybe Gillian Flynn or Jillian, I'm not sure how she pronounces it, who wrote, Gone Girl and Sharp Objects. I don't know what she looks like, so I have no idea if that picture is her.
No, that picture would be the person, or because
it is a picture of the person you're looking for.
Okay.
I think maybe that is Gillian Flynn. I think I saw a picture of her once. No, wait. No. Paula Hawkins wrote Gone Girl, not Gillian Flynn.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure it was Gillian Flynn.
No, it was Paula Hawkins. I remember because it was a question on high school quiz show, which I was on, and I got that question right. It's a local access quiz show in Massachusetts.
Okay. I mean, okay,
and
so
the Gone Girl movie.
Okay. I mean, if that is, if you're confident about that, then I won't, try to dissuade you or anything.
Is it Yogesh? Is it Paula Hawkins?
So that's interesting. So I because Gillian Flynn was guest during the play test, I think look up her name because I had a feeling I might have to say it, and I think she does use the Gillian pronunciation.
Okay.
And her background though was as an entertainment journalist. She was actually a TV critic for Entertainment Weekly, and she did in fact write Gone Girl. I think your memory's playing tricks on you, Manas. I think you're confusing with The Girl on the Train.
Oh wait, I was.
Yeah, which was written by Paula Hawkins and then made into a movie. And
that's the one I saw.
We had a or at some point in one of my podcasts, I think we had a discussion about Gettier cases and what constitutes true knowledge, and but sometimes you get the right answer for the wrong reason. So even though your underlying connection between the title and author was wrong, your actual guess of Paula Hawkins is correct.
Oh wow!
Nice work, Manas.
Thank you. Hey, better to be lucky than good, right?
All right, so
that's worth extra points.
You get a suspenseful number of points there. All right, so now I think it's Manas' turn to pick for Jenna and Aaron.
All right, because I seem to like numbers more than you guys do. I'll choose 3-digit numbers.
We already did that category.
Oh, the whole thing? Okay.
That was a 355 and 112.
Okay, then how about, or so the Germans would have us believe.
All right. So for Jenna and Aaron, the 2019 Annecy International Animation Film Festival was opened by what animated movie with live-action wraparound segments featuring stars Anya Taylor-Joy and Gabrielle Bateman? Beginning development in 2014, that date is significant, it was made by a French studio but signed off on by the Brandstetter Group, or so the Germans would have us believe.
Okay, 2014. The date is significant. So, I mean, what was happening in 2014? Oh, 2014, was that like? I mean, that would have been, the 100-year anniversary of the start of World War One. Could it be something about World War One?
World War One, potentially. I'm trying to look at the photo though.
Yeah.
And it looks more like she's pointing a hairdryer at her face.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this is presumably a picture from the live action wraparound segments.
Yeah. I mean, 2014, what else is...
Okay, signed off on by the Brandstetter Group.
I'll put David's David just made a comment in the chat. I'll put it up once the question is resolved.
Okay. Yeah, let's see.
Is it something significant in German history?
Maybe. I mean, Germany certainly was involved in World War One, but let's see. I mean, if we don't really have any, great ideas by this point, I think we should just go for a guess or something,
1914.
Sure. Yeah, let's say 1914.
I don't have much here.
Oh, yeah, a prequel to 1917.
Yeah, I was going to make that same joke.
All right, a decent guess, but not correct. Manas?
Okay, so this was before COVID, which means it would have most likely, or more likely than now, been a theatrical release. Annecy, that sounds French. I remember The Little Prince being a big deal at around that time, because that was when there was a Netflix adaptation, like sometime between 14 and 19. Did we get a theatrical release? But Anya Taylor-Joy and Gabrielle Bateman, they're Americans, so I should know this. I saw like 6 movies in 2019 in theaters. I'll just guess The Little Prince.
All right. Yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy. Yeah, it's not her. Yeah, her one of the few people whose nationality isn't really listed on Wikipedia because of the confusing circumstances. She actually was born in Miami, but her parents were basically on vacation there, so it's really just a coincidence. She grew up in Buenos Aires until the age of 6 or so, and then in England after that. But yeah, so this was David's comment. But this is a great question about a terrible movie. So the way in here, as you said, I think this is from that live action wraparound segment. I'm not 100% sure because I've not seen the movie myself, but you can see kind of the playful vibe to it, the sense of imagination, playfulness. And then the question none of you asked yourselves that would have gotten you a long way there was, what kind of movie needs to be signed off on by a corporation separate from the studio that's making it?
An independent release?
I mean, it's basically going to be a movie built around promoting some kind of product made by that corporation.
Or that company.
Yeah. So 2014, what was the big movie built around a corporate product?
The Lego movie?
the Lego Movie.
Oh my
Yes.
god!
I was
So
not there at all.
yeah,
Is this
so
the Playmobil movie?
this was yeah. So thinking of who their German competitor would be, this was actually called Playmobil the movie, but I would have accepted the Playmobil movie
Oh man.
because the important part was getting you to Playmobil. That I would have rewarded that kind of knowledge.
Man, that was a good question.
Yes, that was a
Well
great
written,
question.
well written, well written.
All right. And next question, again for Jenna and Aaron to work on together. Born in Cologne, Germany in 1927, this woman won a Booker Prize for her India set novel Heat and Dust, 1975. Later, she became the only person to date to earn 2 Screenwriting Academy Awards for adapting 2 separate works by the same author, or so the Germans would have us believe. So you can either give her name or the name of the author who she won 2 Academy Awards for adapting.
All right. Any idea on this?
2 Academy Awards. She doesn't look familiar,
Okay.
and I don't know the novel.
All right then.
I don't know Heat and Dust. I probably should.
Okay, so 2 separate works by the same author.
What authors have had a lot of works? Probably.
I mean, Shakespeare, probably.
Post 1975.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean Shakespeare for sure. Any others out there?
I mean,
Tolkien.
Yeah. Huh?
Tolkien.
Possibly, although I don't think. I don't think a German screenwriter adapted those movies for the screen.
Could it be somebody even?
Could it be a German author or something? But
Goethe.
now that I think about it, I feel like the Screenwriting Academy Awards, typically focus on primarily American films and not
Yeah, I don't know if this person's writing in German.
Yeah.
My guess
Yeah,
would be no.
yeah.
I mean, you're not getting a lot of Academy Award nominated films in German. The
True,
novel
true.
is called Heat and Dust, and it's set in India. Where,
Okay, so yeah. I feel like this question is, it involves a lot of like canonical lists of quizzing knowledge that I feel like I should probably know by this point, like Booker Prize winners, Oscar winners,
If you know Booker Prize winners well, you would be a great literature quizable player.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. In the absence of anything super, super concrete to base a guess around, should we just guess like a random German surname?
Sure. Schmidt.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. The Booker Prize, I think, is exclusively for people who write in English. And it was only recently opened up to Americans, but it's for people from the British Commonwealth.
I realized that a bit too late. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'll pass to Manas. And I don't think this is really going to make a difference, but just for the sake of clarity, the Godfather films did win 2 Screenwriting Academy Awards, but they were based only on one novel, so it doesn't qualify for this.
Okay. So separate work. Well, I know it's not Tolkien like Jenna thought because I don't think any women were involved in the production of those movies. So she was born in 1927. Well, it would be a long shot if she was still living because she'd be like 94 years old now. Or adapting 2 separate works by the same author. If it was after Heat and Dust, it could have been at least the earliest could have been 1976. So we can name her or the author. That's what the Germans would have us believe. Booker Prize for. I wonder if maybe India might be relevant here because it's in normal size font. Oh, Academy Awards. So, not James Michener. I don't think any of his books have been adapted for film. I'll guess. But Academy Awards are international. No, there are no. I don't think there are international screenwriting Academy Awards. I'll just guess what they guessed before Shakespeare.
Okay, yeah. So first of all, to your comment, I believe 2 of the 3 screenwriters of the Lord of the Rings movies were women. Although I believe they only won the only Oscar it won in that category was for the 3rd movie, Return of the King. But yeah, they were written by 2 women and 1 man, and yeah, with Shakespeare, it's surprisingly I don't know if it's surprisingly or unsurprisingly uncommon for Shakespeare adaptations to be nominated for screenwriting. Because on the one hand, I mean, you would think if you're just using a lot of Shakespearean dialogue, that would make it a good screenplay by definition. But it also would be discounted in terms of creativity if that's what you're doing as well. So certainly, like Hamlet won the Best Picture Academy Award. It's one of the very few Best Picture winners to not get a screenplay nomination, presumably on that logic. And then for some reason, Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet did get a Best Adapted Screenplay nomination, which is one of the most confusing nominations that I can recall.
Oh,
but yeah. But
maybe the competition was just really, really strong in that first year.
Yeah, but you think with also all the versions of Romeo and Juliet or something like that. But I guess they were all discounted because they're just using Shakespearean dialogue until you get to Branagh's, which uses exclusively Shakespearean dialogue. In fact, it's like 4 hours it's 4 hours long, and it's longer than any produced Hamlet because it combines all the different written versions of it. But anyway, yeah. So this woman's name was Ruth Prower Jabwala. I think many people who heard the name might have assumed she was Indian, but that was actually a married surname. Her husband was Indian, and she lived in India for several decades, but she herself was not of Indian ethnicity. And the 2 people she worked with as filmmakers, you remember who those were? She was the screenwriter associated with the work of Ismail Merchant and James Ivory. Known for their kind of highbrow literary adaptations. She was nominated but didn't win for their version of Kazuo Ishiguro's The Remains of the Day. But the 2 that she won for were A Room with a View and Howard's End. They were both based on novels by E.M. Forster. Yeah. She was not involved in the other famous Forster adaptation, A Passage to India, which was directed by David Lean.
Yeah. I recognize the name because I think she came up in some Learned League forum drama months ago when people were talking about the lack of female representation in a recent one-day special about screenwriters or something, and she came up as being like mentioned in one question, but she wasn't the answer or something like that. I don't quite remember, but the name stuck out to me.
Yeah, right now the adaptations mini league is going on, and I was absolutely terrified that there would be a version of this question in the mini league before this episode, but managed to dodge that bullet. So I believe that is that all three of you getting your choice there. Yeah, so
Yeah.
what's left here is Bernadette, Spice Must Flow, the Queen's Gambit. I think we've exhausted the other 6 categories. So those you all get to work together on. So it doesn't really matter what order we go in. But does anyone have any preference on what they want to see first?
Let's try Bernadette, You're the Soul of Me. I'm curious about that one.
All right. Paralyzed by polio at 17 and dead before her 19th birthday, Manon Gropius was tragically denied the chance to do more with her life than serve as a muse for several older men to whom she was introduced by her mother. That mother, called the loveliest and smartest girl in Vienna in a Tom Lehrer song, whose chorus declares that all modern women are jealous of her, had what first name? And I'm just going to go ahead and blow up this picture because I think it's a very beautiful painting.
Whoa.
So the mother is a muse, or no?
No, she was the muse.
She was the muse. Her mother is introducing her.
Okay, so given that, like, you know, in the chorus, you know, there's a line about all modern women are jealous. I feel like maybe her name is going to be something that rhymes with jealous, or maybe Vienna or something like that.
So, like, the only girl's name I can think of that rhymes with Vienna is Sienna.
Maybe.
I can't think of a name offhand. But what's the connection to Bernadette? Like, is her name Bernadette?
Yeah, that is the
Yeah, we don't-
question.
I don't think Yogesh is going to write questions like that, but maybe. I don't. Her name is maybe Manon Gropius went by Bernadette.
Possibly.
You know, since at my original version of this question asked for an overall name, which would allow a last name, and I kind of thought that, I mean, it was fairly easily figured out by playtesters, so I thought maybe asking for the first name might pin it a bit more. But since you all seem to be struggling, I'll accept a last name other than Gropius. I will not accept that last name.
Okay. Well, let's see. Might be something that rhymes with jealous if it's not something that rhymes with Vienna.
Ellis.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Let's go with Ellis.
All right. So So Manon Gropius was one of the 3 famous. Or sorry, not Manon. Manon Gropius's father, Walter Gropius, the architect who headed the Bauhaus School, was one of the 3 famous men this woman was married to. Another was the novelist Franz Werfel, who wrote The Song of Bernadette and like the 40 Days of Musadeg, I think. But I think the most famous one she was married to, and kind of the surname, like her unmarried surname was Schindler, I think, but she was often known by the surname of her first husband, the composer Gustav Mahler. But she also had many lovers in addition to those 3 husbands, one of whom was the painter Oskar Kokoschka, who painted this picture, I think dedicated to her. It's called Bride of the Wind, which was also the title of a movie made about her. And it's a really beautiful painting.
Alma Mahler.
It is Alma Mahler, yes. The Tom Lehrer song chorus says, Alma, tell us, all modern women are jealous. All right. And next question, again for all 3 of you working together. Among the many men to fall under Manon's spell were her stepfather, Franz Werfel, who based the animal-loving title figure of his novel The Song of Bernadette on her, and what composer who dedicated to her his 12-tone technique employing Violin Concerto of 1935. That
12th
picture, by the
Tone.
way, is Jennifer Jones in her Oscar-winning role as Bernadette in the film version.
12-tone technique, I usually think of Schoenberg.
All right.
Why not?
I
Yeah,
don't know. I mean,
you know,
we can. Isn't he the one who had the 12-tone technique?
I think he is.
I mean,
actually.
if that's something that's ringing a bell for you, I I think. I mean, yeah, I don't have much of a clue
The
here.
timing, the timing is about right, and he's German.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Manas, you have any thoughts?
No, I don't.
All right.
So that's what you want to lock in, Schoenberg?
Sure.
Yeah, so I mean, there probably were multiple composers, like a whole school of kind of atonal composers, but I wasn't expecting you to dig super deep into that list. Pretty much there's just two famous ones, Schoenberg and his primary protege, Alban Berg. So really this was a coin flip between those two, and you picked the wrong one.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah, it's Alban Berg. All right, so it looks like we have the upper right ones, Spice Must Flow and the Queen's Gambit remaining.
Let's take the Queen's Gambit.
Okay.
All right, this one is straightforwardly about the television series The Queen's Gambit,
Oh.
surprisingly. All right, episode 1 of The Queen's Gambit climaxes during a screening of which biblical epic, a Best Picture Oscar nominee that was the first narrative feature ever released in CinemaScope. 20th Century Fox was so sure this film would be box office gold that its sequel, the Victor Mature vehicle Demetrius and the Gladiators, had already wrapped shooting by the time this film premiered.
Ooh. Okay, I know like at least two biblical epics. Ben-Hur and the Ten Commandments.
All right. Let's see. The only Victor Mature film that I could name would be The Robe, but I only know the name of the film. I don't know if it was a biblical epic, and I don't know if the question is like implying that Victor Mature was in both films or if he was just in the second one.
I don't have much beyond Ben-Hur.
I thought about The Robe. That's with Richard Burton.
Okay.
I know that from according to Jim. So
That's
is
not
it a biblical
not
epic?
a bad guess.
I don't think Ben-Hur even had a sequel though.
Okay.
The Ten Commandments. Why would that have a sequel?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know.
Was there a movie?
What were you gonna say, Aaron?
No, never mind.
Oh, okay.
I was going in
So,
the
I
wrong
mean,
direction.
you know,
I like this direction better.
Yeah. Just thinking about like the Ten Commandments. I mean, you know, I haven't, you know, seen the film The Ten Commandments, but you know, just the Ten Commandments, you know, like Moses receiving them, that's, you know, Old Testament stuff, and I feel like Demetrius and the Gladiators would be New Testament, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if. I mean, okay.
Like
so
the
what were
greatest
the
story
other
ever.
films we were thinking?
The Robe.
Ben-Hur
Is
and The
there-
Robe.
Okay.
Ben-Hur. The greatest story ever told. Is that around that time period? Let alone an Oscar nominee.
Let's see.
I
So
think Ben-Hur came out in 1958.
okay. So that was
The Robe was later. I know.
okay.
I think the Ten Commandments came out like a few years before Ben-Hur, but I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Like, okay, episode 1 of The Queen's Gambit. That's when the protagonist is, you know, like a young kid at like an orphanage or a school of some sort, and you know, like
I've never seen it.
she's learning chess, you know, from her, you know, like mentor who's like the janitor there. So, you know, it would take place, you know, I think there's, you know, like a time skip of a few years between then and the next episode. Yeah. So, and like I know that the majority of the series, like takes place in like the 60s or something. So it would make sense if like first episode would be late 50s, like you were saying. Okay, so of the films that you suggested, like which one do you think is the best guess?
I think The Robe is our best guess because I know that Ben-Hur had a remake, but I don't think it had a sequel.
And Ben-Hur feels a bit too obvious for this question,
Okay.
given it's not going to be that easy, given the difficulty of the questions so far.
Okay.
All right, let's go with it. I don't have anything better. I'm not super helpful on this one.
So which one are you looking at?
The
Going
Robe.
with The Robe.
The Robe, yeah. So while you were talking, the thought did pop into my head. What would a sequel to the 10 Commandments be called? Like the 11th Commandment?
The Book of Mormon.
Yeah, I think David had a similar thought. The sequel to 10 Commandments is called Leviticus. Maybe you have to be Jewish to really appreciate that. But yeah, so yeah, Ben, you were a little off on the years. Ben-Hur was 59. It did win Best Picture. 10 Commandments, Cecil B. DeMille was 3 years earlier. That was also nominated for Best Picture. But you go back another 3 years before that to 1953, you had a maybe less remembered Best Picture nominee. Even though, I mean, the field then was only 5 movies, so the fact that it made it in should make it memorable. But sometimes movies that don't really stand the test of time get in there. This was certainly, though, popular at the time. It was the first one in CinemaScope, so you see the really wide aspect ratio, and it was a huge hit. Its sequel was also a pretty big hit, and it's still remembered kind of among Christian communities because although it wasn't directly based on a biblical text, it was based on a novel that sort of took off from the Bible, continuing the story of the centurion who was present at the crucifixion of Jesus. And yeah, it starred Richard Burton, who you can see here, and it's called The Robe.
Wow.
All right.
Nice work, team. Well done.
All right, and
So
next
right
question.
answer, wrong reasoning, I guess.
I mean, you at least knew it was a biblical epic of approximately that period. It kind of was early on, kind of started this whole cycle of adaptations, which then allowed the others to be greenlit, I think. But yeah, you're listening to Jim Belushi paid off.
In an episode of According to Jim, he gets his wife Cheryl a DVD of The Robe because she asks for a DVD or a robe, but he thought she asked for a DVD of The Robe.
Oh, well, I actually laughed at something from that show. Huh. All right.
Yeah, this is a pretty terrible show.
All right, next question. After directing 3 performers to Oscar nods across 2 movies, what filmmaker returned to her first love, acting, to portray Beth Harmon's adoptive mother in The Queen's Gambit? She's also had small roles in MacGruber and Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stopping, both helmed by her husband Jorma Taccone of The Lonely Island fame. Just like earlier, I had Patrick Soon-Shiong with his wife, as you know, couples always work together. So here you have her with her husband.
Oh. I actually saw MacGruber and that movie blew, so I think I may have blocked out too much of it. I've definitely read her Wikipedia page. Isn't Popstar a concert film?
It's like it's a parody of, like a sort of, I guess, Justin Bieber type of, like pop idol. I haven't seen it, but I seem to remember that's what it's about. Yeah, I feel like I have heard her name recently as well, and I'm just not able to pull it.
I don't have much here, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, certainly notable that she's a director. So maybe we can figure out some way in through the directing angle. But
3 performers, 2 Oscar nods across 2 movies. So maybe those 2 movies had like some actors in common.
maybe, or like maybe one of the movies had 2 Oscar nominations.
By Oscar, I never understood. Does Oscar nods mean nominations or wins?
Yes.
Nominations.
All right.
Similarly with Razzie nods earlier, that also meant nominations.
Well, that could be anything.
Nominations. Wow, that we're looking at a pretty big field there.
Yeah.
Yeah, David also clarifies the title "Pop Star Never Stop Stopping" was meant to parody Justin Bieber's concert film.
Anyone have any good names, female directors?
The only
Not really.
The only female director I know of is Patty Jenkins, who directed Wonder Woman.
Possibly.
It's not terrible. You want to go with that? I don't know if we're
Why
going to
not?
come up with anything better.
Is it Patty Jenkins?
So, Patty Jenkins did direct Charlize Theron to an Oscar in Monster almost 20 years ago. Wow. But yeah, we're looking for someone whose work is a little more recent, or whose Oscar nomination direction is a little more recent. But yeah, she. I think her first film as a director didn't get any nominations. It was called Diary of a Teenage Girl or something like that. It was based on kind of a hybrid graphic text novel that was acclaimed. But yeah, she also recently directed the video or the film, the screen version of Heidi Schreck's "What the Constitution Means to Me," which was a huge success on stage. But yeah, that wasn't a feature film. Her last 2 feature films were "Can You Ever Forgive Me," which Melissa McCarthy and Richard E. Grant were nominated for, and "A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood," where Tom Hanks was nominated for playing Fred Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood fame. And her name is Marielle Heller.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the second question. All right, so it looks like you're just left with "Spice Must Flow," which I will reveal has absolutely nothing to do with Dune. Just a cute category name. And apparently that line itself actually isn't in the original novel Dune. It originated with the 1980s film version, the one directed by David Lynch. It became kind of a meme after that. But all right, here's your question. The Spice Islands, now the Moluccas or Maluku Islands, or Spice World if you want, were one of many colonies contested during the 17th century worldwide armed conflict between which 2 European imperialistic powers? Other countries got involved in the conflict, but I'm looking for the main 2. One of these nations first captured Malacca in 1511 under a commander whose epithets included Lion of the Seas and Caesar of the East.
Ooh, I've got 3 here. We could probably get down to 2, and that
if it's 2 European imperialistic powers, I feel like at least one of them has to be Britain.
Well, I mean, Britain is there throughout this time period, but I think the first in the early 1500s, Portugal is the first one there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Netherlands.
Yeah, I was thinking
the Netherlands had control of Indonesia for a long time, but they were there as well.
The picture is, I'm assuming that's the Spice Girls.
Yes.
So that's probably not a hint of.
Yeah. No, trying to define 17th century worldwide armed conflict. I do not recall any like.
So 17th century would have been in the 1600s. So
yeah, there is at that point Britain is not terribly active there. I mean, that is it is well before. it's well before the British have Singapore, even I believe.
Oh, the British had Singapore. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, 1600s is
I
quite early. I mean, you're looking at, I mean, Spain and Portugal are the still much more in their prime at that point.
Mhm.
And Spain and Portugal, I don't know if you call it worldwide armed conflict, but they are always in conflict throughout this period. The Netherlands are there for a long time, though, but I'm trying to figure out how early that is. I mean, it's well before 1600s is well before the Netherlands commercial power kind of hit its zenith, but you're looking at, so you go England and Spain. Spanish Armada beats 1588.
Yeah.
When England.
I feel like I wonder if those names, Lion of the Seas and Caesar of the East, are translations from some other language.
Possibly.
Probably.
Yeah.
For one of these nations first kept. I mean, the first capture, the 1511 first capture, is Portugal, because
Okay.
they go around, they hit the coast of India, 1498. So they're there, and then they have Macau in 1511. As by 1511, they're in Macau as well.
Okay.
So I think one has to be Portugal.
Okay, I feel like the other one might be the Netherlands. I think.
All right.
Is the Netherlands? But is the Netherlands out there that far by the?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know the specific. I don't know the specific dates, but I just. My first thought when I saw this was like, the Netherlands were, definitely doing, their colonialism in this area of the world.
Well, I guess the war, the worldwide armed conflict isn't not in 1511.
Yeah.
It's probably somebody trying to it's someone trying to unseat the Portuguese, which would be
but who in Europe would want to unseat Portugal?
Britain at that, and
I mean, Britain was definitely active in the 17th century because
Spain or Britain. By that point, though, it could be the Netherlands.
I mean, you certainly seem a lot more confident about your knowledge of this history than I am. So.
Yeah, I'm still trying to piece together like what worldwide armed conflict. Do you want to just go with Portugal and the UK, or Portugal and the Netherlands? I mean, by the mid 16th century, England is way out there. Like that's well after Jamestown. It's still well before though Australian colonization. What?
Why don't we go with Portugal and the Netherlands? Because the 17th century was when the British were here, so I don't think they would have been too concerned about the Spice Islands at that point. Right?
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay. So are we going with Portugal and the Netherlands?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay, so you're locking in. You obviously all the ones you've discussed are very good candidates, but you're locking. Yeah. So I think Spain and Portugal wouldn't. I mean, I think in 1494 they signed the agreement to kind of divide up the world between them.
And the Treaty of Tordesillas.
Tordesillas was 1494.
Yeah, and then a few decades later, the Treaty of Zaragoza, which divided up the other side of the world between them. I think in 1511 they actually were in a personal union, or actually not a personal union, but because I think their kings were double brother-in-laws of each other. Their families intermarried twice. So yeah, at that point they were fairly well aligned. So yeah, your deduction on the 1511 date was very good. That was just about 13 years after Da Gama reached India. So the only country really getting a foothold in the South Seas then was Portugal. The commander was named Alfonso de Albuquerque, who is Afonso. I think the Portuguese version of the name doesn't have an L. Afonso de Albuquerque, who is not the person who Albuquerque, New Mexico is named after, because that's named after a Spanish person. But yeah, I think maybe giving you that name might have both been too much of a hint, because it would have given you a general area, and misleading because it would have pointed you to Spain. But yeah, so Portugal is that one. The other one, I mean, Spice Islands, now the Moluccas, now part of Indonesia, which was the Dutch East Indies, owned by the Netherlands. So yeah, basically at that point, Portugal had territory in South America, in Africa, and in the South Seas, and the Dutch fought them over all of it. They didn't really get any foothold in South America, not in Africa. They did get the territory in the East Indies, or however you want to refer to it. So yes, Netherlands and Portugal. That's correct.
Oh wow!
Yay! Well done, team.
All right.
Figured
Well,
it
the
out.
Dutch got Suriname, so that's something.
Yeah, right. They did have a small territory, formerly Dutch Guiana, and now Suriname. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
they
right.
got like Aruba and those islands.
Right, in the Caribbean. Yeah, but not Brazil, the big one that they wanted. Yeah. All right. So final question of the game. Spain's ill-fated second expedition to the Spice Islands under Garcia Jofre de Loaiza claimed the lives of both Loaiza and the man who had assumed command of the first such voyage, the Magellan voyage, following Ferdinand Magellan's death, and then completed a global circumnavigation. However, if I asked you to give me that man's name, I'd be stepping into a politicized debate. So here's the question. Why is the spelling of the surname of the first man to sail around the world, most likely, so controversial?
Well, the first person to really do it was Drake, right? Francis Drake.
Well, I mean, Magellan's voyage was the first one.
Wasn't he killed in Argentina by his
Well,
own?
yeah,
he's killed in the
that's kind of what
Philippines.
that's kind of what the question is. I believe pointing out that this guy assumed the command, and then he died on the second expedition. So he completed Magellan's expedition, then he died on the next one.
Yeah.
Yes, that's all correct.
Okay, so I mean, it could be like, for like nationalistic pride reasons, like multiple countries want to claim him as, being from their country, and the surname is, traditionally spelled differently, in different places or something like that.
Is it a Spain-Portugal difference where somebody's spelling the Portuguese name, or is it some kind of
Maybe it has to do with some anglicization or something.
Yeah, it could
or
be.
maybe like Catalonian independence, it's spelled differently, or maybe he was Basque, or
Possibly.
like some other separatist movement within Spain. Although at that time, and the crowns were unified, it's not. Maybe he was Basque.
Possibly.
Because that could be like if the Spanish government in later years was spelling it a certain way, but Basque people claim him as theirs, and so they spell it differently. I'm trying to think if there's anything else like that. It could be. He's got to be Spanish, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Unless he's like Portuguese and Spain is claiming him and the Portuguese don't like it.
Well,
but that feels less controversial.
Yeah, we have to think about. Well, I mean, the person that this question is asking about would have had to be with that Loaiza guy, right?
Yeah.
If it claimed both their lives.
Yes.
I don't know if he has anything. I don't know if it has anything to do with Garcia Joffre de Lois.
Are we assuming that the picture is of him, of the man in question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am. But is there some kind of clue in the picture? I mean, his
I feel like
attire.
if there was a clue in the picture, I feel like Yogesh would be letting us zoom in, but
Yeah, I don't know. We could see if is there anything about his attire that's uniquely Portuguese or Basque or Catalonian or anything else.
yeah,
I
feel
don't
like,
know. I'm not
you know,
that.
I mean, the thing
that
about
close to it.
Basque, right, is that, like, you know, it's like a language isolate, right? Like, it's not related to any of the other, you know, languages of Europe. So, I mean,
Oh, really?
I don't think that,
Well,
like,
yeah,
the names that, like, Basque names would necessarily be, like, you know, cognate with Spanish names or, like, have Spanish equivalents or something like that. So, I mean, you know, if it was a question of, like, you know, a territory, you know, like, wanting to be independent, I feel like it would be more likely to be, you know, like, are we using the, like, you know, Spanish spelling or the Catalonian spelling or something like that, as opposed to Basque.
well, but he's what I think what Yogesh is implying here, though, is like this is still controversial.
Yeah.
So it's like if it's some obscure thing in the past, I doubt it. The other thing I was thinking of was this is like right around after the Inquisition, and that it's in that time. What if he was like crypto Jew who was hiding his identity and
Like
yeah, like the Ladino speaking Jewish community that was there at that time and hiding his identity. So maybe that's controversial if somehow Jewish, like the Jewish community claims him.
I was thinking something like sort of along those lines, because maybe he was from, like, what is it called, like Castile, because Castilian Spanish is different.
No, I think.
Well, that's the Castilian
Spanish is like the standard dialect.
But the Catalonian thing that is still real. That is still politicized. So maybe if people are spelling it in some kind of Catalonian spelling versus the Castilian spelling, that could be it. I mean, that's very reasonable. That wasn't as much of an issue then, but it is an issue now.
Yeah.
I mean, do we want to go with that versus Basque? I think your point, Jenna, was a good one. Of like Basque surnames, as far as I know, pretty much all I know is like the soccer players and political figures who have it, and they just they have a bunch of like weird letters in it, but they generally spell them. I think it's a common way of just how people spell their names. Do we want to go with the Catalonian? Like
like Castilian versus Catalonian.
Catalonian. All right. Yeah, let's lock that in.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, I mean, you narrowed in very quickly, I think, on the correct type of thing you were looking for. Yeah, certainly. When I think when I was growing up, and it definitely used to be standard to give his name as Juan Sebastian del Cano, but I think in the as early as the early 20th century, historians were arguing that couldn't possibly be an authentic surname because it was too Spanish, and it's a matter of historical record that this man was Basque. And so
man, we were on it.
I'm so sorry.
No problem. I know. I didn't have quite enough confidence in it.
Yeah, so it's generally often you'll see him now referred to as Juan Sebastian Elcano, which is judged to be the Basque version of that name. All right.
There was a baseball player named Robinson Cano for the Yankees, who I think was of like Spanish or Mexican descent.
Right. Yeah, it's probably the same surname, but it's been theorized that was the Spanish version and therefore not authentic. I mean, yeah, Portuguese wasn't a terrible thought because I believe Magellan was Portuguese.
He was
by birth, yeah, and he sailed under the Spanish flag. So yeah, you were definitely in the right area. You came close, just like with the Schoenberg thing. You just flipped the coin the wrong way. All right, so I believe that is the end of the game. Putting that screen up there, just one last reminder for people. Thank you to everyone who's stuck with us this far, and we'll conclude with just giving everyone a chance to basically just say whatever they want. It can be, just like at the end of the podcast, it can be about the world at large. It can be about the game. It can be about some combination of those things. If you want to plug anything, you can. Just any kind of statement you want to make. And there's no there's no real reason to give anyone preference in the order, but let's go in the order you joined the stream. So Manas was the first to join the stream, so you can go first.
Right. What am I doing? Or
just anything you want to, basically anything you want to say. If you want to, congratulate your fellow participants or talk about anything you want to plug as well, it's up to you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot for doing this, Yogesh, and good job to Jenna and Aaron. This was a lot of fun, and it was pretty much what I was expecting. Typical Yogesh style questions.
I will take that as a compliment.
No,
Whether it was.
We didn't get any Pretty Little Liars questions.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that. And the seemingly chess-based questions weren't actually about chess. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. And also, if anyone is interested in being on a quiz team, if history is any indication, my OQL team will be losing some more members next year because the team is in a state of disarray. So if anyone wants to join OQL, then just hit me up on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever. You can pretty much reach me on any platform.
Cool. All right. And then Jenna was the second to join, the next to join. So you can go.
Yeah. I don't know. Don't really have much to plug. I'm on Twitter at postpunklesbian. You can follow me there. Yeah, I think that's it basically.
All right, Aaron.
This was really fun. Thanks, Yogesh. I really like that Playmobil question that had a lot of different interesting levels to it that we didn't quite get there. I think it was really interesting and well written. I have a page of notes here on people and things I need to go look up and learn more about that were mentioned in questions or were answered or answers to questions. Manas and Jenna, it was great to meet you. Fun playing with you. And I'm on all those platforms as well. My name is fairly unique, so fairly easy to find. And just wanted to thank you for giving me a chance to be a part of this, Yogesh. It was cool.
You're welcome.
And yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was an honor to be invited.
For sure.
Yeah, thank you all for participating. Thank you to everyone who stuck with us through the stream or watched at any point, and to anyone who watches it later on. The next one of these will be on Halloween, not deliberately selected to be. I haven't actually written the question, so maybe I'll try and work in a Halloween theme. But it just so happened to fall on that date, and it will have one of the world's greatest quizzers, Victoria Gross, as well as Dargan Ware and Jimmy Lee, who are very good in their own right. So, if you enjoyed this, please come back for that one.
Right. Dargan Ware writes questions for OQL, right?
I don't think he writes. You think he plays OQL.
Oh, okay. And yeah, this was definitely worth keeping my calendar open for like a month for.
Yeah, I think we narrowed it on a date fairly quickly. We could have been flexible because, there's a fairly big gap between now and the next one. So if this weekend hadn't worked, we could have done another one, but it happened to all work out. It all aligned. So
yeah, glad you didn't ask us to, come on stream last Saturday because that was my birthday.
Oh,
happy birthday.
Thank you.
Birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. All right. Cool. Well, yeah, again, thanks to everyone. And I think we can sign off now.
All right.